As St. Bernard said, the road to hell is paved with good intentions. I'm speaking, of course, about this new phase idea with law enforcement to run around with their lights on, whether that's red and blue in some states or just blue in other states. As a former law enforcement officer, I can tell you that it is one of the stupidest ideas I've seen in law enforcement in a long, long time. As Action News reports, it is causing confusion. I think they were speaking of Hillsborough County Sheriff's Office in Florida, who started this a while back, and as they reported on their Action News on July 7th, it was causing confusion. It caused so much confusion that there was a crash involving a young man and his girlfriend on a motorcycle, where a Hillsborough County patrol vehicle was trying to turn off from a main road, and another car saw them with their overhead lights on and decided to stop. The motorcyclist, knowing that these were, quote, as they say, cruise lights and not patrol lights or not emergency lights on, he didn't stop. Of course, the deputy decided to pull in and then ended up hitting the motorcyclist. It's been I've seen it in other states, and it has been a bad idea since they've started it. It's a simple thing. It's always been this way since lights have been used on police cars. If they're on, you pull to the right and you yield and or you stop. If they're off, you don't have to worry about anything. Okay. Now, the Hillsborough County Sheriff's Office, along with several other departments, reports that, well, it deters crime. As the study had shown, there's really no evidence to support that that actually deters any crime whatsoever.
An internal memo states law enforcement perpetrators that law enforcement exclusively support the sudden drops in crime noted during the trial period. But a key finding stated this study was not able to conclusively support the argument that cruise lights deter crime. The study demonstrated a possible deterrent effect.
A possible deterrent effect. That's all it could come up with. The study was not able to conclusively support the argument that cruise lights deter crime. And that's supposedly why all these agencies are doing it. That's at least what they're telling the public. Okay, and you know, it goes without saying that somewhere in an office there is an administrator that hasn't been out on the road in years and comes up with these bright ideas to call it their pet project, and in this case, it's a bad decision. One, as we're already determining, there's a lot of confusion out there, and there would be. And I personally, even as a former law enforcement officer, if I see a police car behind me with its lights on, whether they're flashing or not flashing, I'm going to pull over to the right and stop, because that's what the law says. Okay, you can make up a policy, but you know, the fact that they don't necessarily have to flash anymore, that you can just drive down the road with them on. I do believe that in most states there's also other laws that state the only lights that should be on a vehicle, if you're in the forward moving direction, and the only lights that should be on are white lights such as your headlights or amber lights for your parking lights, and in the reverse should be your red lights. So if you're driving down the road, if a police officer is driving down the road with these lights on, he or she is driving down the road with a red and blue light sitting up on top solid. Now I'm going to use another example that they think it's a deterrent. It's not really a deterrent. I'm going to use an example of a department store. We're not going to name any names, and we're going to name the security company that patrols these department store parking lots. But they do the same thing. Those security cars will sit in the parking lot with their green or their amber strobes, or maybe not strobes, maybe they just have them illuminated, and they drive around the parking lot. Everybody knows these parking lots, some of them are very large, and it can take quite a good amount of time to sit there and cruise up and down every single lane. So let's say you're in lane number 1, and here's a security guard that's passed you. And maybe you have not so great intentions in this parking lot. Maybe, perhaps, you're one of those individuals that likes to cut off catalytic converters, which hasn't been known to happen throughout this country. All right, well, the security guard just passed you. Now your buddy sitting in the pickup truck or sitting in the car is watching the security guard. There he goes down the second line. There he goes down the third lane. You can watch this security guard the entire time because you know exactly where they are, because you can see them. You can see them way at the other end of the parking lot. Meanwhile, your buddy is over here cutting off these catalytic converters. And by the time this security guard gets back to you, you're gone. You've already left. Okay? So knowing where the police are all the time is not exactly a deterrent to crime. It's not helpful for law enforcement to catch the criminals in the act at all. My best way of catching criminals in the act, burglars and thieves especially, was to actually get out of my patrol car and walk. That was one. Number 2, especially at 2 o'clock in the morning, shut off my headlights completely and cruise slowly with the windows open. I was pretty good at catching burglars in the act. I was pretty good at catching criminals in the actual act of committing the crime. Instead of coming from 2 miles down the road, and they say, oh, here comes a police officer, let's get out of here, or let's stop what we're doing, or let's wait until he passes, and then we'll continue what we were doing after they're gone, because we can see him go away. So as far as deterring crime, I don't see it. Neither did the study. The study demonstrated a possible, maybe, could be, probably not, deterrent effect. Let's talk about another very important issue in regards to these lights. Anybody that's been in law enforcement for many years can remember back in the 60s and the 70s, back when the big old 4, 5, 6 LD mag light flashlights came out. The officers used to have a habit of keeping them in their non-firearm hand. That's good. It's safety. You can always get on your firearm. But they used to end up putting them up on their shoulder. And they used to put them right beside their head. And then they'd go looking through a building like this with the flashlight up beside their head. I can remember back in the late 80s being in a cadet program where that practice of doing this with your flashlight next to your head was being taught to stop, not to do it, to don't be that way, because when you're doing it, you're showing the bad guy exactly where you are, and if they have a firearm and wanted to hurt you, they know where to aim. Okay? Because here you are holding your flashlight right next to your head. So now let's talk about 2025, and let's talk about police officers in their patrol vehicles driving around with their LEDs. They're all LEDs, by the way, these days. These LED overhead lights on that can be, I'm going to guess, but I would nearly bet you could probably, on a dark night, you could probably see those at least a mile away. Okay? So now you're a really bad guy and you're doing something that you really shouldn't be doing, and maybe this officer has no idea that you're even there. But you don't know that. You see these red and blue or solid blue lights coming towards you, and now you know where to aim. It's a very stupid thing to do. It's an officer safety thing, and sooner or later, somebody is going to get hurt. And when it does, these administrators that think that this is somehow deterring crime, I hope they wake up, because this is not a smart idea. It is better for the criminals not to know where you are. It is better for everybody not to necessarily know where you are. I mean, once again, if you drive by and you're gone, then you're gone. You're not going to probably be back through there, and neither is another officer for quite some time. So now and everybody saw you, and everybody knows it. So now you've just opened up this entire area to more likely the possibility of crime occurring. Maybe you'll double back. Unlikely, but maybe. So, bad idea because it's causing confusion. Bad idea because it's going to cause people to yield when they don't have to yield, and other people won't yield, and crashes will happen like has already happened. Bad idea to let the bad guys know where you are, and bad idea for your own officer safety. It's very stupid. Thank you.